Greetings and salutations, young true believers. So, in his Realism and Moralism in Political Theory, Bernard Williams, he's an English philosopher. He died about a decade ago. Uh, Very influential philosopher, though. But he's trying to solve a chicken or the egg question. And the chicken or the egg question in this context is what should come first? Should it be a moral situation that gives rise to a state, or is it the case that the state rises first and then we worry about moral considerations? So, to elaborate on this, uh, here on page 3, he tells us I start with two rough models of political theory. One is an enactment model. The model is that political theory formulates principles, concepts, ideals, and values. In politics, so far as it does what the theory wants, seeks to express these in political action through persuasion, the use of power, and so forth. The second option, also on page 3, tells us is the structural model. And in the structural model, he tells us here theory lays down moral conditions of coexistence under power, conditions in which power can be justly exercised. Now, remember this name. We're going to talk about this man a lot all throughout the semester. He notes that the paradigm of a structural model theory is John Rawls in A Theory of Justice. John Rawls' Theory of Justice came out in 1972, and it has been a monstrously influential work in ethics and political philosophy. Again, we're gonna be reading Rawls. Everybody we talk about this semester is going to be responding to Rawls. So, again, we'll talk about more about his theories down the line. But just to give you a brief preview, Rawls argues that if at all possible, what we should do to set up the best possible state is to bracket off our every presumption we have about what constitutes what we should do in a given moral situation, moral or political situation for that matter. We should try, to the extent that it's humanly possible, to forget about the race, gender, economic status, sexual orientation, etc. of the person that we're interacting with. We should put on what he calls the veil of ignorance and act as if we could not tell any of these, discern any of these properties of a person, and then act as you think would be best, so as to not have your judgment influenced by any of those factors in which human beings might be biased, right? So what's back to Rawls? Williams? What's he up to? Well, Williams is pretty adamant. He makes it very clear throughout the course of his article that he rejects the structural model. He thinks there are very sage reasons why a group of people would first enact a state and then worry about the moral considerations, and not the least of which is security, right? So he thinks this entire emphasis on the moral status of the state that's exemplified by such 18th century philosophers as, say, Immanuel Kant and Jean-Jacques Rousseau is just mistaken. It doesn't reflect the actual practice of people when they set up states, when they've established governments, and it's not necessarily the best guide to establishing the security of a state. So again, Rawls is very straightforward about where he stands on this, right? To elaborate a little bit, he tells us on page 5, if the power of one lot of people over another is to represent a solution to the first political question and not itself be part of the problem, something has to be said to explain what the difference is between the solution and the problem, and that cannot simply be an account of successful domination. It has to be something in the mode of justifying explanation of legitimation, hence the basic legitimacy demand. So there he's making a concession. He's saying, while you can't start a state on a foundation of morality, right? You have to be more pragmatic than that. Moral considerations do matter because people simply do not want to be coerced into doing what the state tells them to do. They want to feel they have an obligation to the state. They want to feel as though they're a part of it.